God-sized story.
Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of God-Sized Stories. Next week on Monday, I have Ashley on to talk about some really just glorifying stories about God and Bibles and how we view them sometimes. But today, we're going to learn a little bit more about Ashley and about her love of nature.
Part of my story of becoming a Christian was involved me going on a mission trip with my cousin in Colorado. And so part of the story was I became a Christian on a mountaintop, just recognizing that I couldn't deny that God was real, that there was the mountains here and then there was the flowers here. And it was just the start of the process. And so even growing up as a family, like we were camping because we didn't have a ton of money. So we'd be camping outside, and I just grew to love nature, and I feel God so tangibly there. And so when I was about to graduate college, I applied for this job working in North Carolina wilderness therapy. Either these girls are going to juvie or mental hospital or camp, and they're really wanting to want to work on things. And a huge part of the program is it's wilderness residential. And so we are outside all the time. I mean, we live in the woods, we build our own living structures. We go on trips that the girls plan, so it's a lot of experiential learning. There's no electricity in campsite, so even in the wintertime, they get down to 13 degrees, and we're in our like a cocoon in our tent because there's no walls. Yeah. Like the wood we built up on the sides was about 3 feet up with canvas, and then there's canvas on top on the roof on a platform, but you're still full in the air. The girls get plastic down so to preserve some heat in the tents. But the Chiefs, like that's what they would call us. We would not get any of that. We were wide open to the air. We'd have to get up in the morning, and there'd be like frost on our sleeping bags, and we'd have to get ready and start fires in the mornings. And there was times where like I burnt off my eyelashes, or like I burnt some hair on my bangs, and I'd go to the haircut, and they'd be like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I live in the woods," And for our tents, they'd be all hand built, and so the girls would plan them out, build up this design, whether it was A-frame or a Hogan, and we'd get the poles we needed, and we'd go out with our hand saws and cut all the trees down. We lived in a 700-acre pine forest in North Carolina, and so it was a really secluded area. And we'd go out and cut them down, and then we'd carry them back to our campsite. We'd skin them. We'd get all the skin off of them, and then we would dig holes and start putting them together. We'd have wooden dowels. We'd have these wooden hammers, and we'd hand drill them. We'd put the dowels in, and we'd tie on the rafters. And a huge part of that was also trips. That was part of the experiential learning. So the girls would plan every aspect of the trip, whether that was food, the budget, how to get there, and what it would look like on the trip. We'd have a theme for each trip. So that was like animals all along the river. And we did this Swanee River trip down from the Okefenokee Swamp into the Gulf of Mexico. It was 25 days, 250 miles. With 10 teenage girls going on the river. And so that was an adventure in itself. And we saw 108 alligators. One of my girls counted all the animals we saw. And so it was just seeing the alligators in the swamp and seeing all that was happening in that. And it was the hardest job I ever had, but also just a really cool experience to have these stories of chasing after girls in the middle of the woods and seeing cows on the side of the river, and just having this experience to spend the menus they would plan, like they're teenage girls. And so you also know where they grew up. And if we didn't carefully look at their menus and like what they approved, like we were eating for lunch one day, like spaghetti and meatballs with Sour Patch Kids and Sabina sausages. Like, I was like, "Oh, I'm gluten-free. I can't eat this. Oh no, too bad." And it was just a really neat experience. And I can't have that forever. I can't forget that. It was just a really cool experience to have in my repertoire of all the adventures I've had.
Oh my goodness. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for sharing that. And audience, look forward to Monday for just a couple really powerful stories. And audience, as always, thank you so much for listening. I couldn't do this without you. Goodbye.